The sun climbs high over a bustling market, its rays filtering through colorful canopies. Vendors call out their wares, their voices a vibrant symphony of commerce. The air is thick with the scent of spices and ripe fruit, mingling with the sounds of laughter and friendly haggling. Amidst the cheerful chaos, Skolola, a bright-eyed girl of 12, stands beside her aunt's fruit stall. Her clothes are simple but clean, and a gentle, ever-present smile graces her lips. With focused care, she arranges golden bananas into a neat, inviting pyramid on a wooden tray. Her aunt's voice cuts through the market's hum. "Skolola," she calls, "please help that customer over there." "Yes, Ma," Skolola responds with practiced obedience. She moves with a nimble grace, her small feet navigating the crowded path effortlessly. She approaches a waiting customer and, with a cheerful demeanor, sells a small bunch of bananas. Her thank you is soft but sincere, delivered with a warmth that belies her years. As the customer departs, Sholola's gaze drifts upward, drawn to the sight of passing school buses. Through the windows, she sees children her own age, their faces animated with laughter and conversation as they head home. Her eyes, filled with a quiet longing, follow the buses until they become mere specks in the distance, disappearing into a world she can only imagine. Later that afternoon, during a short break, Sholola finds a quiet refuge near a sprawling park, settling herself in the shade of a large, leafy tree. The market's noise fades into a distant murmur. She begins to hum a soft, simple tune, a private melody that only she can hear. With a slender stick found on the ground, she starts tracing letters in the fine, red dust at her feet. Her brow is furrowed in concentration as she carefully forms each shape, learning on her own, guided by an insatiable curiosity. A sleek car glides to a stop on the road nearby. A door opens, and Jessica, also 12, steps out, her smart school uniform and heavy bag marking her as one of the children from the buses. She spots Sholola engrossed in her dusty calligraphy and, her own curiosity piqued, approaches with a friendly smile. "Hi," Jessica begins, her voice clear and kind. "What are you writing?" Startled, Sholola looks up, her movements shy. "Just letters," she replies softly. "I'm learning on my own." Jessica's eyes light up with genuine admiration. "That's so cool. Do you go to school?" A wistful smile touches Skolola's lips, tinged with a hope that refuses to be extinguished. "Not yet," she says, her gaze steady. "But one day I will." "Maybe I can help you," Jessica offers spontaneously, her enthusiasm infectious. "I love reading." A small, shared laugh bridges the gap between their two different worlds before Jessica's driver calls for her. "See you again?" Jessica asks, already moving back toward the car. Skolola watches her go, a flicker of hope warming her chest. "If I'm lucky." The following week, luck is on her side. Jessica finds Skolola again, seated under the same faithful tree. This time she comes prepared, clutching a worn notebook and a sharpened pencil, precious tools of a world Skolola yearns to enter. "Here," Jessica says, extending the gifts. "You can practice more letters with these." Sholola's eyes widen in delighted disbelief. She takes the items with a reverence usually reserved for sacred objects. "Really?" she breathes. "Thank you." Without hesitation, they sit together on the dusty ground, their heads bent in shared purpose. Jessica, a natural teacher, patiently shows her how to string the letters together into words. Sun, sky, hope. A gentle breeze whispers through the leaves above them, carrying the sound of their combined laughter as a new, unlikely friendship takes root. In the days that follow, the shade of a nearby mango tree becomes their secret classroom. It is a sacred space, far from the judging eyes of the world. Every afternoon, like clockwork, they meet. Jessica reads stories aloud from her books, her voice painting vivid pictures of faraway lands and magical adventures, while Sholola listens, captivated, repeating the words after her, her pronunciation improving with each lesson. Once upon a time, Jessica reads, her finger tracing the line, there was a little girl who dreamed big. Sholola looks up from the page, her smile radiant. Like me? Exactly like you, Jessica confirms, her own smile mirroring her friend's. They giggle, the sound pure and joyful, and share a sweet, ripe mango, its juice dripping down their chins, sealing their bond. One afternoon, their lesson is interrupted by the weather. The sky darkens, and a light rain begins to fall, dotting the pages of their book. Unfazed, Jessica quickly opens a small, colorful umbrella, holding it over both of them, creating a tiny, private shelter. You'll get wet, Sholola says, concerned, trying to shift away to give Jessica more cover. Then we'll both get wet, Jessica declares with a laugh, pulling Sholola closer. Huddled together, they continue their work, writing on a fresh piece of paper, their heads close, safe and dry under the little canopy. The sound of the rain provides a soothing rhythm to their studies. You're getting really good, you know, Jessica says, pointing to Sholola's increasingly confident handwriting. Sholola beams with pride. You're a good teacher. In that moment, their friendship feels like a beacon of light, pure and powerful enough to hold back the rain and the world. Their peaceful routine is shattered one afternoon. As they sit studying under the mango tree, the familiar hum of their secret world is broken by the sound of an engine. A black SUV, imposing and out of place, pulls to a stop on the roadside. Jessica looks up, her cheerful expression replaced by one of surprise and apprehension. The driver's door opens, and Mr. Adalek, her father, steps out. He is a man of quiet authority, well-dressed and calm, but his face is serious. Jessica, he asks, his voice even but laced with an unmistakable edge of inquiry. What are you doing here? Jessica scrambles to her feet, suddenly nervous. Dad, this is Sholola. I'm helping her learn. Mr. Adalek's gaze shifts from his daughter to the small, shy girl standing beside her. He pauses, his eyes taking in the scene. The two girls, the open books on the ground, the half-eaten mango. You're teaching her? He asks, his tone unreadable. Yes, Jessica replies, her voice a little shaky but determined. She's very smart, Daddy. He looks at Sholola, who shrinks slightly under his intense scrutiny. For a long, heavy moment, he says nothing, the silence stretching between them. Sholola clutches the notebook to her chest, her heart pounding. Then his expression softens, just a little. Jessica, he says, his voice now gentle, you have a kind heart, but you should have told me. Sholola finds her voice, speaking softly but clearly. Sir, I'm sorry if I caused trouble. Mr. Adalek looks at her, a flicker of thoughtfulness in his eyes. It's not trouble, he says, his tone reassuring. Just unexpected. Jessica lets out a breath she didn't realize she was holding, though a hint of uncertainty remains in her eyes. Come, both of you, Mr. Adalek says calmly, his decision made. We'll talk about this at home. He gestures toward the car. Jessica glances at Sholola, a silent question in her eyes, before reaching out and taking her hand, her grip tight and reassuring. Together, hand in hand, the two girls walk toward the imposing vehicle. The wind rustles through the leaves of the mango tree, their silent witness. On the ground, the books remain, open, waiting, their stories not yet finished. The rain painted streaks on the car window, a blurry backdrop to the quiet city gliding past. In the back seat, Jessica and Sholola sat in a silence that was less awkward and more reflective. Mr. Adalek, at the wheel, broke the quiet, his voice gentle but probing as he glanced at them in the rearview mirror. So, he began, his tone thoughtful, you two have been studying under that tree? Jessica nodded, her reply earnest. Yes, sir. I wanted to help her learn. Mr. Adalek's gaze shifted to Shalola, a question in his eyes. And you, young lady, why didn't you tell anyone you wanted to study? Shalola's voice was a soft whisper, barely audible above the hum of the tires on the wet road. I didn't know who would listen, sir. Mr. Adalek nodded slowly, his expression unreadable as his eyes returned to the road. The simple, honest answer hung in the air, a quiet testament to a desire that had found no outlet until now. The rest of the drive was silent, filled only with the rhythmic swish of the windshield wipers and the weight of unspoken thoughts. Later that evening, the Adelecki home was a sanctuary of warmth and light. The living room, spacious and inviting, was a stark contrast to the dreary weather outside. Jessica and Shalola sat on a plush couch, glasses of juice sweating in their hands. Mrs. Adalek, a woman with a kind face and a gentle presence, joined them, her smile putting Shalola at ease. Jessica tells me you've been learning very fast, Mrs. Adalek said, her voice as warm as the room. Shalola managed a shy smile, her gaze dropping to her lap. She's a good teacher, Ma. Mrs. Adalek exchanged a meaningful look with her husband. It was a glance filled with a soft pride for their daughter's compassion, but also a flicker of concern for the young girl beside her. Education should never depend on luck, Mr. Adalek stated, his voice firm with conviction. He looked from his wife to the two girls, his expression serious. Everyone deserves it. Jessica, emboldened by her father's words, looked at Shalola and then back at her parents. Then maybe we can help her go to school? A profound silence settled over the room, broken only by the ticking of a clock on the mantelpiece. The question, simple yet momentous, hung in the balance. Finally, Mrs. Adalek broke the stillness, her smile returning, this time wider and full of possibility. Let's see what we can do, she said. The next day, the bustling market was a symphony of sounds and smells. Mr. Adalek navigated the crowded pathways until he found the stall where Shalola's aunt sold her wares. The aunt, busy arranging vegetables, looked up in surprise as the well-dressed man approached, her expression shifting to one of polite curiosity. "Good afternoon, sir," she greeted him. "Good afternoon," Mr. Adalek replied warmly. "Shalola has been helping you here?" "Yes, sir," the aunt confirmed, a hint of pride in her voice. "She's a bright girl, we can't afford school right now." The words were an admission of a painful reality, a dream deferred by circumstance. Mr. Adalek nodded, his gaze understanding. He didn't waste time with pleasantries. "If you allow, I'd like to sponsor her education." The aunt's breath hitched. She stared at him, her eyes wide with disbelief, then slowly filled with tears. She covered her mouth with her hand, a gesture of overwhelming emotion. "God bless you, sir," she whispered, her voice thick. "God bless you." A few days later, on a bright weekend morning, the world felt new. Jessica waited under the familiar shade of the mango tree, a place that had become their classroom. Soon Shalola appeared, walking toward her not in her usual faded clothes, but in a crisp, new school uniform. It was simple, but on her it looked like a suit of armor, a symbol of a battle won. "You look amazing," Jessica beamed, her own joy infectious. Shalola laughed, a sound of pure, unadulterated happiness. She twirled, the fabric of her uniform catching the breeze. "I almost didn't recognize myself." They sat down on the grass, the same spot as always, but everything felt different. This time, the books they opened were new, the pages clean, the words clearer. The future, once a distant, hazy concept, was now written in these pages. "Ready for class?" Jessica asked, her smile wide. "Always," Shalola replied, her voice firm and eager. They opened the book together, two friends under a mango tree, and the wind carried the sound of their shared laughter across the fields, a promise of all the things that were now possible. The following months unfolded in a vibrant montage of progress and triumph. Skolola was a natural in the classroom, her hand always the first to shoot up, her mind a sponge for every new piece of information. Jessica would often peek through the classroom doorway during breaks, her heart swelling with pride as she watched her friend flourish. Mr. Adalek was a constant, proud presence at school events, his quiet support a steady foundation for Skolola's journey. And Skolola, in turn, began to pay it forward. After school, she would gather younger children under the shade of that same mango tree, patiently guiding them through the alphabet, just as Jessica had done for her. The student was becoming the teacher. Time passed, and seasons changed. Graduation day arrived, a swirl of balloons, music, and the palpable excitement of proud families. Skolola, now a confident young woman in her mid-teens, stood on the stage, a certificate clutched in her hand. The school principal stood at the podium, her voice resonating through the packed hall. This award goes to a student whose determination, resilience, and spirit have inspired our entire school, Skolola Oluwa. The hall erupted in applause. In the audience, Jessica and her parents stood, clapping louder than anyone. Skolola stepped to the microphone, her hands trembling slightly, but her voice was steady and full of emotion when she spoke. When I first learned the alphabet, it was not in a classroom. It was under a tree. With my friend Jessica, she began, her eyes finding Jessica's in the crowd. She believed I could learn before anyone else did. Her kindness changed my life. Now I want to help others believe the same about themselves. Cheers and applause echoed through the hall, a wave of celebration for her journey. Years later, the mango tree still stood, its branches reaching toward the sky, a silent witness to the story that had unfolded beneath it. A group of children sat in its dappled shade, their faces upturned and focused. Skolola, now a young, poised teacher, guided them through a reading lesson, her voice patient and encouraging. Jessica arrived, a warm smile on her face as she watched her friend. The scene was a beautiful, full-circle moment. "You really became a teacher," Jessica said, her voice filled with pride. Skolola turned, her grin radiant. "And you," she replied, "became my first student." They laughed together, a sound as familiar and comforting as the rustle of the leaves above. The golden afternoon sunlight filtered through the canopy, blanketing them in a soft, warm glow. Skolola turned back to her small, eager class. "Remember," she told them, her voice a gentle command, "learning can start anywhere. All it takes is a little help and a lot of heart, even under a mango tree." The camera panned up, through the leaves, to the vast, open sky, as the sound of children's laughter blended with the whisper of the breeze. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe more stories like this.